Good morning, Earthlings. We have a lunar eclipse tonight. The details of which are the sun is going to be at 27 degrees of Scorpio, and the moon will be at 27 degrees of Taurus. So it's a full moon. And it will be exact at 2:57 Central Time. The lunar eclipse will last from, it is a partial eclipse, and it's going to last from 1:18 until 4:47. Excuse me. I feel this one coming on. Anyway, so let's get into it. I had my meditation this morning and it was like I was the fucking nutty professor. Lots of images that I was getting. So I have a number of stories that were brought to me that feel really relevant. And the first one that I want to get into, so an eclipse is when the light of the sun is blocked from the moon by the earth, right? And so there's darkness. They can they indicate like sudden changes, right? Information changing, or just, then something suddenly coming to light, like some sort of pivot point, or can be like drastic shifts. So the first story that I was shown was when I was a kid. My brother and I, it was Christmas, I had to have been like 8 or 9 maybe. And for Christmas, we had gotten a light bright. I don't know if you guys remember that toy or if it is even still a thing anymore, but basically it was this thing and you would put pegs in it, and the pegs would let light shine through, and the pegs were different colors. And so, they'd have these overlays where you can make a face or a flower or whatever. And it was plugged in, and so there was a light behind it and it would shine through, and it was just really fucking cool. So my brother and I got one of these for Christmas. A few days after Christmas, power went out. So in my house, the power going out was always really exciting. First of all, because I just liked the idea of being in the dark, whatever weirdo that I am. But my dad worked for the power company, and so whenever the power went out, he got to go in and get overtime. We didn't even really understand what overtime meant. It just meant that mom and dad were happy. So thunderstorms and the power going out are a really big memory for me. And dad would go off to work, like no matter what time it was, to try to restore the power. But anyway, so in my head, I was like, it's dark, because I have chills right now telling this story. I hadn't thought about it in a fucking long time. But the first thing that I thought of was like, ooh, the power's out, and mom lit candles, and dad was getting ready to go off to work. And I'm like, how cool is the light bright gonna look in this? We had to plug the light bright in, right? And I was so disappointed. I remember as a kid being really, really disappointed because I couldn't use the light bright, which was our new toy, in the dark. Anyway, it was like I had this brilliant idea. I knew how everything was going to go. I could picture it in my mind. The light bright would just be like whatever, with a big old clown face that I brilliantly made, shining in a house that was totally dark with the thunder outside and me in my pajamas. Anyway, see, I'm like there now. But that came to me because, you know, and it was innocent enough, right? But what it made me think of with this eclipse is that the way we think things are going to go, um, naively, like there may be circumstances change, and how grown are we going to be about those changes? Okay. Um, and the funny thing is too, it made me think of Scorpio and Taurus, because Taurus is like our values, our things, our stuff, right? And Scorpio, where the sun is our deep desires. And I had a deep desire to have my stuff work the way that I wanted it to. And I was very disappointed that it wasn't going to work that way. And obviously I probably, you know, found something else to do, but the takeaway from that is, be flexible. Okay. Just know that unexpected things might occur, and be receptive to different things coming in. I mean, the truth of the matter is that I absolutely loved thunderstorms, and I loved the dark, and I loved the house with candles. And I probably ended up playing like I was, you know, Laura Ingalls in Little House on the Prairie, because I was a kid, and, you know, I'm sure I didn't dwell on it for very long. I had fun regardless. And that's what we need. That's what we should do. Okay. Mars and Mercury. So when there's an eclipse, and I'm not going to get way into it, but there are calculated points in the cosmos that measure where the eclipses that are going to occur. And so right now, the north node of the moon is in Taurus, and the south node of the moon is in, is in Gemini, and the south node of the moon is in Sagittarius. But this is an off sign full moon. Okay. So whatever we have been going through in the past year and a little over a year, a little under a year and a half, basically the whole time that like COVID has been going on. But what have we learned? What are our expectations? What are we learning from the past? I don't even actually want to say clinging, because this feels like, if we allow it, like things will absolve. But what can we let go of that about our beliefs for the future, or things that just aren't aligning? Okay. And what are we willing to own about ourselves? Another story that I was reminded of when I was in meditation, and I was meditating on what to do this video about. So in 2017, yeah, it was July 5th of 2017. I went to the emergency room, and I was sent to a mental hospital the next day, and put on emergency hold for suicide, right? This is it's actually a really funny story. Okay, so I spent the night in the hospital before I went to the hospital, and then I was transported to the mental hospital. So when I got there, all of my clothes were contraband. I couldn't wear jeans. I don't remember why I couldn't wear jeans. And they had a bunch of like clothes where like people had donated that you could use. I couldn't wear my sneakers because shoelaces, you can maybe like hang yourself that's not funny, but I'm gonna fucking laugh because it's my story and it's funny to me now. But anyway, so I couldn't wear my shoes, I couldn't wear my jeans, and I couldn't wear my bra because it had underwire. Secrets out. um, and you know, so I'm looking through all of these donated clothes. Well, all of the bras were, you know, massive, and I'm not massive. And at the time, I was actually pretty fucking skinny and unhealthy. But the only thing I could find was they had a teenager part, and so I found um, a training bra. That was all I could find. So I'm wearing a training bra. I got a pair of like sweatpants, and I'm wearing some slippers, and it's probably around noon. And I walk into what is called in a mental hospital the day room, and the day room is like not the night room. The day room is where you go and everybody hangs out for the day. Um, and so it was circle time or whatever they were doing. I'm probably confusing the mental hospital with rehab, but I'm sure, you know, you've seen fucking movies, like picture it, everybody's sitting in a circle. So I go in and sit down, and I was pretty quiet, and I was there voluntarily, you know, not voluntarily. I was put on a mandatory hold, but it was because I had called 911 on myself when I was I wanted to die. Anyway, so I, you know, that I wanted to be at the mental hospital because I knew that something was fucking wrong up there. But when I got there, um, and I was sitting in the circle and everybody was sharing and I was just observing because that's what I do. And it's probably a pretty normal thing when you're going into a situation you've never been in before. And I was listening and I was like, oh my God, like with my training bra and my slippers and my sweatpants that were from all from like the teenager drawer in the donation room of the mental hospital. And I was like, these people are fucking nuts. Okay. This is all going on in my head. And then like something weird started to happen where I was like zooming out and zooming back in to me, and then zooming out to the room, and then zooming back into me. And I was like, I'm fucking nuts. Like, I'm nuts. You know, I am in a mental hospital. Like, I'm gonna own that. But it was so easy for me to observe that in other people. Now, here's the deal. I'm not even going to get into when you're dealing with a fucked up world. Like, it's kind of like there were times when I was in there and I was like, these people know what the fuck is up too. There's that as well. Um, but it was it was like all of the sudden when I looked around the room and I'm sitting in a circle with all of the people that I'm calling nuts, that I realized that I was one of them. Um, and there's something about that in this full moon. Um, you know, the full moon itself, the astrology of that is in square to Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter, a square is tough. A square is tough. And Jupiter as an archetype represents knowledge. Okay. He signifies like growth and how we want to learn more and expand our experience. Um, he's professorial, I always kind of say. It can be a guru energy, right? So the flip side of the learning is that Jupiter can come across as like a know-it-all or as entitlement or grandiosity, like bragging. Eclipses are times for being quiet and seeing what comes in, right? And unconsciously, we may be inclined in a way where in the dark, we're reaching for what's familiar. We want to touch and know, okay, instead of learn and grow. I made a rhyme, but I can see that if we go out and play in the sandbox today, there might be some throwing sand, and our gut instinct or like our reflexive attitude might be to like throw ourselves around, throw around what we know and all of that. But this is really a time for being quiet and seeing what happens and what comes in. The last thing that I was shown is a horror film. It was me in it. I'm doing pretty okay. I'm facing a lot of shadow stuff. Everything I see in others is stuff that I have been or have or now do, you know. But it's like everything that I find triggering for the past few weeks, honestly, are parts of myself that I don't like, right? That I need to become acquainted with. But anyway, so the next thing I saw was a horror film. And, you know, in a horror film, they'll have the part where usually like the dumb blonde is running away from like a sound that she hears, like somebody is chasing her. And you know, you go through like the, oh, you know, she's gonna get killed or whatever. And then all of a sudden, like she's like running around a corner and boom, runs into somebody who's trying to help her, you know, or they're in the same boat. Are you running away from what might be helpful to you? Because then at the end of that coming in, what I saw myself running into was a shadow figure, but it was helpful. It was my shadow. You know, it was like running from myself when like, gosh, when you just face it, it absolves, right? And so when we're quiet, all of that stuff that bubbles out, it just wants to be seen. It just wants to come out of the dark, you know, and maybe that in that process, that's how these through this eclipse with the, you know, the light being hidden for a moment in the dark, giving it an opportunity for our own inner darkness to see what comes out. So that then it can be in the light again. And this, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, inner child, you know, but that's sometimes it's where you just hug it. It's a part of you that remembers a story of rejection or pain or some sort of trauma, and it really just wants to be seen. It's like the 2-year-old who's having a tantrum, you know. It just wants you to see that it's there. Anyway, I'm gonna bust out some cards and see what comes up. Yeah. Oh, shut up. My cards have been kind of blowing my mind lately. Okay. First card I got, 4 of Cups. He is staring so intently at 3 cups in front of him, trying to figure out, cups are emotional fulfillment, right? You know, he wants what he wants, but there we have a hand coming out of the sky with another cup, which represents something emotionally fulfilling that we might miss, or some sort of nourishment that we might miss because we're so focused on these things that are right in front of us. That's literally that light bright story, you know. And then we got the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords, the page is childlike energy. So we're getting like there's childlike energy with this, okay? Letting things come in. The Page of Swords is new ideas, new ways of thinking, being clear, being honest, but with the innocence and intention of a child, you know. And I don't mean like that, you know, for some reason I feel like some people might jump to like the like bully kind of like child thing, but no, I mean like the innocence of a child, you know, like when a child can say something hurtful but they don't intend to, right? Like, wow, that person is really big, or you know, something like that. Like they're just making an observation, okay? That's not permission for you to go around being an a-hole and saying things that are rude. But you know, it's this childlike curiosity. Those are what I pulled for. Yes, these are what I pulled for spiritual advice. Be open to things coming in. Try to keep your focus loose. Don't like hyper focus on specific things. Be open and be receptive. The other thing about the Page of Swords, you know, the King of Swords is very intelligent. He imparts wisdom. The Page of Swords is learning. So this is being open to learn, not being a know-it-all, not, you know, being grandiose or telling everybody what is up because you know. I think I might pull a few different cards. Right. We just want to do the right thing, right? For the by and large, we just want to do the right thing. We want to be fair and we want to be just. And with this, are we doing our best to learn and to grow and to make sure that that's where our center is? Or are we puking out the mouth without realizing that we're trying to use our own words to convince ourselves that that's what we're doing, if that makes sense? Actions speak louder than words. Archangel Raziel, seek and you will find. Be a wise one. He's reading. He's learning. This is, yeah, he's not lecturing. He's not telling everybody what to do. He's not saying what's up. He's seeking wisdom, right? Whether that, and that can be on your own. And I feel like it ought to be. And just putting things together, just see what comes out to play in the dark, and pray for the highest good of all. If you pray or meditate or, hold space for others. But it's definitely a contemplative sort of energy. Determination. Don't be afraid of the rising tide. It will soon recede. That made me think of something. Let me pull another one. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dream. Follow your yearning for the deep blue sea. So, with determination, don't be afraid of the rising tide. It will soon recede. I can like feel this. It feels like almost dense. It's interesting. So that like feeling like something is kind of closing in, right? The rising tide, like the tides go by the moon. When we feel like something is kind of pushing up against us, it might be, there's a reaction to, I should do something. I need to do this. I need to push back out, right? But it's going to recede. And so I think there's more to learn from our reaction to that. Okay. And to observe our reaction to the pushing. And then dream, follow your yearning for the deep blue sea. See what comes in dreams tonight, because this eclipse will be happening in the US overnight. It doesn't mean you have to let go of the larger emotional sense of your dreams, right? It's just maybe that'll come in another way and things will shift for you. Doing two more. This is gonna be long. Oh, wow. Money, find a way to abundance. The Scorpio and Taurus axis is about our values, our worth, our finances, lending, borrowing, owning. So we definitely have money on our minds. Venus is in Capricorn, where our work, our finances, all of that is in the mix of this, okay? And eclipses are not times for manifesting, right? But this is where it's like, look at where you are shifted, you know, and this will last like 6 months. There could be changes in jobs, changes in even career paths, or how our money is coming in for us. But that's a good sign. Yes, look at this. You guys see that? See that woman is holding a wolf in her hand, okay? The wolf is not going out and charging towards what it wants. It's being cuddled by a goddess. Um, that's really cool. There's a full moon on here. There's not a full moon on most of these other ones. There's an owl. That's wisdom. There's a French horn, and I just got like, listen to the music, listen to what is being played for you, as opposed to trying to figure out how to play it yourself. There are moths, which represents, you know, kind of makes me think of like death. And it not like, it doesn't have to be the literal death, but you know, just like the death of something so that something else can be reborn. One more. When I lean on faith in the, wait, when I lean on the faith of the universe, peace becomes real. owls. Yeah. See what comes in for you. As I always say, this will play out differently in everybody's chart. If you're interested in a reading, my information is down below. Tarot or astrology. And now I have some things to do. I'm probably gonna be, well, I am for sure leaving soon. I don't even know when, but for Colorado, so it'll be a nice 16-hour drive. Anyway, guys, happy lunar eclipse. I mean, mellow, ruminating, chill out, receive lunar eclipse, see what happens. Anyway, peace. Namaste. Love you guys. Thank you for checking this out.